Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in for another episode. Today we're going to do one of our retrieve videos. I've got a whole series of these where I talk about the different retrieves that I like to do for a bunch of the different techniques that are out there. And one that I haven't done before is a shaky head, which surprised me when I went back through and looked at some of the ones that I've done. So I figured I would do a video on shaky head retrieves. Which in my opinion has become a relatively, I'll say it's not as used nearly as much as it used to be. You know, the shaky head is probably one of the original finesse baits, and it's kind of just been pushed to the wayside in my opinion by a lot of the other techniques that have come out. And I don't think that's because the other techniques are necessarily better. I think the shaky head actually has a huge advantage over other techniques in a lot of situations. So I figured I would kind of just walk you through it a little bit, you know, and give you a little bit of general information with the shaky head. You know, the first thing I want to point out is shaky heads come in a lot of different variations. You can get a round ball like this one. This is the Picasso shakedown. You can get ones that have like a flat head so they stand up. You can get ones that have different head designs so they come through grass a little bit better. There's a lot of good versions out there. There are a lot of just different styles. The other thing to point out is your worm. I personally think a good shaky head worm is a straight tail worm. This is the Berkley Maxent Magnum hit worm. Now, again, a shaky head though can be used with, you know, cross style baits or a lot of just different types of plastics, but I would say the original shaky head was definitely a straight tail worm, and from that standpoint they just really catch fish. The Magnum hit worm, things like the Zoom finesse worm, you know, just tons and tons of good worms that are out there. So from a rod and reel standpoint, because it is more finesse, I would generally say most people fish it on spinning gear. That's generally going to be a medium or medium light rod, fast action, your 7.3 range, 7 foot to 7.3 range, and then most people will fish it on braid to a leader. So this is 10-pound Berkley forward braid that I have to a 10-pound leader. Now, again, having said that, you can 100% fish a shaky head on bait casting gear. In fact, I would say a lot of your bait casting gear or a lot of your shaky head fishing that's still done is done on ledges where guys are fishing 3/8 ounce head with a big worm down 20 feet on a ledge. So, and a lot of those anglers throw it on bait casting gear. So it just kind of really depends on the situation. If you want to throw it more finessey with an 1/8 ounce head like I've got, or maybe you want to throw a 3/8 ounce head and you're fishing a big Magnum worm down in 20 feet of water, you know, you're probably going to upsize your line and upsize your rod and reel. So it's very versatile from that standpoint. And the retrieves though generally are going to be pretty similar across the board. You know, there's a lot of different ways to fish a shaky head. I think most people generally think of a shaky head as just a dragging bait, and it absolutely is. You know, I'll take it and I'll throw it out and you fish it pretty much like how would you'd fish a football head jig or a football. You let it fall to the bottom and you just kind of are maintaining bottom contact the whole way. You're just kind of dragging your rod, popping it, twitching it. You know, you're just I have tons of bluegills around here right now, so they were pulling on it, but you let it go to the bottom and you're just kind of doing one of these type of things. You're not pulling it fast, you're just maintaining bottom contact. And I gotta say, that's one of the reasons why a shaky head is such a valuable tool, especially if you've got one with a tungsten head. You can feel exactly what you're in. You can feel, you know, if you're in the rock or if you're in a muck or a shell bar. So it's a really good bait at just maintaining that bottom feel and letting you know where you're at, which is, in my opinion, one of the keys with it. So, you know, you throw it out and you're just really slowly working it just along the bottom. I'll give you another cast like that. And I know guys are gonna watch this, people are gonna watch this, bluegills. They're gonna watch this and be like, I have so many bluegills. You know, oh, you didn't catch any fish doing it. Well, hopefully I do catch fish, but you know, if I don't, it's really just showing you the types of retrieves. And in this case, you throw it out, like I said, you're just feeling bottom contact. You know, I've got a mixture of grass and rock in this area, and I'm really just trying to, there's one. We did get one, just, oh, we lost them doing the video. Dang it. So like I was saying, it's about maintaining that bottom contact. And I do think it's pretty critical to have your worm rigged straight. Now, there are some people that like to rig it off a little bit to the side so their worm will spin. I don't like when that happens, but I think your worm should be rigged so that when it falls, everything is in line and it's falling straight without spinning. Anyway, so okay, so back to this. Throw it out, bluegill. You're just maintaining that bottom contact. You know, you're fishing really specific little spots, just trying to feel it and see if you can generate strikes, because you're where the fish are supposed to be. You know, you're really just kind of milking those spots. Another way I like to fish it though is where I'm trying to generate the strike. So I'm going to actually impart some reactionary stuff into it. So I'm actually going to fish it like you'd snap a tube. You know, I'm letting it fall, hit the bottom, and then I'm just popping it. Now, I'm not really ripping it hard trying to get it to go 10 feet off the bottom, but I'm trying to get it to explode off the bottom and then fall back down. And that's really all it is. So, you know, you pop it and it's falling back down. And the reality is a lot of your bites will come when it's falling, because that worm will glide back to the bottom. Now, I think you generally are better off throwing a worm that's not overpowering, or a head that's not overpowering the worm. And what I mean by that is, like an 1/8 ounce head with this bait, it's not shooting straight to the bottom. It's actually coming up, and then it's gonna like meander and glide a little bit to the bottom. It's a really it's just a really subtle little thing that I think can generate a lot of bites at times, where that bait explodes up and then just kind of glides around. And it works really well. Like, that's generally the way I'm fishing right now, which is where I've got this grass and stuff mixed in. If I can pop it, it'll explode through that grass and then hopefully glide down into a hole where there's a rock at. And that's going to be something that'll just generate a lot of strikes. You know, and you got to do it in a lot of instances just to try to keep your bait clean, because if you are fishing where you've got a little bit of grass, or maybe you've got a little bottom stuff, you know, I can see I brought the bait through clean, and it's just a matter of trying to explode. Now, this works great too if you're fishing ledges. You know, if you're fishing ledges and the fish don't want it, where you're just kind of pulling it over a shell bed like that, just start popping it like you're stroking a tube, you know, where you're really trying to get it to explode off the bottom. And that will get a lot of fish to react to it and eat it, because I think that potential forage is getting away from them. I really can't stress enough how important it is to put some form of action in whatever bait you're throwing. Shaky head, get it to pop, get it to create some form of different movement into it. You know, if you're throwing a spinner bait, don't just straight retrieve it. Pop it and twitch the rod tip, because every time you do that, you have the potential to move your bait in a manner where the fish thinks it's getting away, and they need to take advantage of that, and they'll go after it at that point. So by me, in this case, popping the bait, that bait's exploding off the bottom or exploding out of a weed, and it almost startles the fish, where they react to it out of just complete, just again, out of startled. You know, they're completely taken back by it, and they're like, oh, there's something there, I better go get it. And keep in mind too, I talk about this a lot on the channel, where bass don't have hands. You know, they're creatures of curiosity. And from that standpoint, in order for them to figure out if something is food or not food, they have to put it in their mouth. I mean, they don't have hands to feel it. They put it in their mouth and determine whether it's edible or not. So if you can get them to be surprised by it and react to it, they're gonna just instantly try to eat it just to understand even what it is. Really critical from that standpoint. So, you know, it's just a matter of popping it. You don't have to really hit it hard. In some instances, maybe that's what you want to do, but it's really just a matter of just popping it and getting bit just like that. And that's the thing, in a lot of cases, you'll feel them actually come get it and eat it on the fall. Not a big one, but showed us how to do it. In that case, I actually got him on the outside, and I'm sure he had the tail of the worm. Just a little chunk. But it's one of those things, it just generates reaction strikes. And so much of being successful in fishing is actually getting them to just respond. So we should be 2 for 2 in the tutorial here in terms of retrieve. So let's show you the third retrieve. And this one is a little bit different again too. It's not really different. I would actually say this is kind of how the bait was developed. You know, it's a shaky head because the idea is you want to just shake it. So I'll actually, oh man, there are so many bluegills. They're just driving me nuts. But I'll actually just take it and shake the rod tip. If I think I'm in a spot where there's a good chance of me being bit, so let's say I've got a stump out there, or let's say I've got a hole in the grass or a big rock, I'll actually take it and just let it sit there and actually shake the bait. And this is something where, I mean, again, it's really, for me, this is key to know that I've got a specific target. Because I personally feel like if you know where the fish lives, a lot of times their curiosity again will bring them to it. So if I throw my bait and I'm just shaking it down there, I'm creating a commotion, I'm moving bottom sediment around, and the fish are going to come over and look at it. Now, this isn't necessarily what I want to do if I'm fishing. See? Another, I don't think he's big, but I mean, we literally are pretty much just letting that bait sit there. What do we got? Another little bass. And you got my tail. Ooh, somebody got my tail. Let's replace that. They took my tail, so we're gonna put a fresh one on. Really liking this color. This Mimoso. Don't even know how to say it. It's a Tackle Warehouse exclusive. So let's twist this back on quick. And I really like these hitchhikers on these shakedowns. They hold so good. Okay, so we're gonna go back to this. So this is just the one where, you know, I like to throw it out. Now, I don't necessarily have a target other than I know there's scattered rock here with holes in the grass. So I'm gonna take it, I'm gonna let it go to the bottom, and you know, I'm visioning I'm in a prime area, so I've got a boulder out there. I'm gonna throw it and I'm just shaking it. Just shake it, literally a shaky head. I'm shaking it in place, trying to allow that tail to flutter, trying to move bottom sediment, trying to just bring fish to my bait versus me really trying to cover a bunch of water and find them. Now, what I was saying before that fish rudely interrupted me is I'm not gonna do this necessarily if I don't feel like I understand the spot or know the spot I'm fishing. I'm not gonna try to fish this way and cover a whole area because it's an extremely slow way to fish. I mean, I'm fishing specific targets, throwing to exactly where I think it's at, and I'm just gonna shake it and then let it sit, and shake it, let it sit. I'm not moving, I don't even have my hand on the reel. I'm just shaking it in place. And if you've got a fish that is in that area, they're gonna hear that, they're gonna feel it, and they'll come find it. But it's really just about getting those fish to your bait. But it is an incredibly good technique as long as you know that you're fishing a spot that's a really good strike zone. This is one of the reasons why it can be absolutely deadly on places like ledge fishing and shell bar fishing, because if you know your bait is in the specific strike zone, if it's where it should be, because you can feel it with your head, at that point you're just letting it sit there, and you know that those fish are somewhere out there. It's a really good technique for like when you fish through an area and caught a bunch, you know, and you think there's more fish there that are not going to eat whatever other bait you're throwing, throw a shaky head out there and just vibrate it in place. Vibrate it, stop it, vibrate it, stop it. And don't be afraid then, like, either when you're doing this, because a lot of times those fish will come look at it, but they won't actually eat it. So instead of just, you know, slowly dragging it, then put a pop in it and then let it fall back down and vibrate it again. Like mix up basically all the retrieves that we've talked about. Really good way to generate those strikes, because again, those fish are coming and looking at it, and that vibration of you shaking the rod tip is getting their attention. And then when they get down on it and they don't want to eat it, when you pop it quick, that's when they eat it. So if you mix everything up a little bit, that can be deadly too. But just try shaking it, guys, just like a normal shaky head. Shake, 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 keep it in place. If there's a fish around, they will eventually find that bait and come to it. So those are the three main ways I like to fish a shaky head. Hopefully you guys can implement them, catch a few fish. If you've got other ways that you think are absolutely deadly, throw it in the comment section so people can learn from you guys as well. It's one of the best things about this channel. It's all about learning, all about trying to help everyone catch a few extra bass, because we all have the same love. We all love fishing and catching fish. And that's what I've got for you today. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned. We'll have a new video coming out tomorrow.